Starting 2026 off strong, so we're gonna say this with the utmost confidence. I'm going to deliver this line with the utmost confidence, and you are going to pretend that it's not as cringy as it is. It's time. Let's get bookish. I tried really hard, okay? I tried to deliver it with confidence. It'll never not be cringy. I could write a college-level dissertation on the fact that it drives me insane that not all books are the same size. Hey, Golden, I did not know your game. I did not.
You're coming home with me.
I feel like no one's giving me enough credit for having read this chunker of a book in 5 days. And if there's one thing about me, it's that my interests are fleeting. Hi, hello, it's nice to see you. I'm glad you could make it, and welcome to the very first of 2026 episode of the Bookish Diaries. We are back and we are better than ever, and it is time for us to do some bookish things together. Now, obviously, the Bookish Diaries started last year and the goal was to do an episode every single month so that we could do bookish things together. And I will say that there were definitely some months that got away from us, especially near the end of the year when I knew I was moving and I knew I couldn't really be book shopping and things were just getting kind of chaotic. However, doing the Bookish Diaries were some of my favorite weeks from last year, and I absolutely loved bringing you guys along to do some bookish things together. However, I feel like for 2026, we are going to approach the Bookish Diaries just a little bit differently. So I guess this is also a little bit of an update about what you can expect from me going forward. The whole combination of the Bookish Diaries was that I wanted to start bringing you guys along for things not necessarily 100% focused around reading. We were still doing bookish things together, but we were also just spending time together and spending the days together. And if there's one thing you guys may or may not know about me, it's that my brain really has a hard time categorizing things, and the idea of just doing a random weekly vlog out of nowhere felt really daunting to me. So the idea of trying to combine doing bookish things together, having like a set outline of things that I was like, yeah, this would fit in this video, this makes sense to me, was a really good way for me to practice doing some more traditional style vlogging and bringing you guys along for more things. There's one skill that I feel like I gained in 2025. It was definitely that. It definitely feels less daunting to just pick up my camera and talk about whatever and do kind of whatever together. So I don't know if I need the Bookish Diaries as badly as I needed them last year. And because I was trying to do them every single month, I did feel like they started to become kind of a chore. Like it was kind of like a checklist at the end of the month or at the beginning of the month that I needed to do all of these set list of things together because I love doing them, I've loved editing them, and you guys loved seeing them. Like I've seen comments and I've seen messages that these are some of your guys' favorite videos. That being said, I want to bring a lot of the things we do in the Bookish Diaries out of the Bookish Diaries as well. But that does not mean the Bookish Diaries are going anywhere. No. We are still going to be doing bookish things together when the time is right. Because if there's one thing that we should probably do less of in 2026, I should maybe not always go to the bookstore and do huge hauls. I should maybe not always have a drill in my hand and be building some sort of furniture for my bookish situation. You know, I feel like we could do with a little bit less of that in 2026. Like I feel like that might lower the cortisol a little bit to have maybe not as never ending of a TBR and maybe not as many building things. Cause I mean, like we're constantly injured. You see the bandage, right? So the idea for 2026 is that when the time is right, when there are lots of bookish things for us to do together, the Bookish Diaries will be back, but we aren't going to rely on the Bookish Diaries for me to bring you guys along into my everyday life, into doing everyday things together. There's so much planned for 2026. I have so many video ideas, trips planned, just things that I'm excited to bring you guys along for in 2026. And that does not mean that the Bookish Diaries need to go away, but I do think it means that they need to evolve. They need to just be like a sweet treat every so often. That being said, I was going to wait a couple of days to start the Bookish Diaries. I was going to wait until next week because there are a lot of things on the agenda. There are a lot of things we need to get caught up on. There are a lot of things we need to do together in this week. However, this just showed up in the mail the other day. And you know when you see a book, you make eye contact with a book and you're like, I don't know really what's compelling me to do this. I don't really know what's the whole situation with this, but looking at you right now, I think I need to drop everything and I need to read this. And I already kind of felt that way. And then I was flipping through it yesterday because I was thinking that I was already going to pick it up. And I saw this in it for Madison, signed by Kate Golden. And this will in fact be my very first Kate Golden book ever. And all of the reviews that I'm seeing for this early before it comes out are making me so excited to pick this up. I think this actually does come out Tuesday to my Sunday right now. So by the time this video is out, if I love this and I convince you that you need to go pick this up, you definitely can go and pick this up. However, I thought it would be fun to start this video here and we can read Half City together. I have really high expectations for this going into it because I've seen a lot of people say that it's not predictable. It does a lot of different things than a lot of typical romanticies are doing right now, which definitely intrigued me because I feel like a lot of us are feeling a lot of that romantasy fatigue of like, it was fine, I had fun, but like every single book is doing the same thing. So if this can be something different, I have a good feeling that this could be an immaculate time. The only thing I know about this is that she's in some sort of school and that she's a demon hunter and she has to hide some secret in the school because this is the something academy. Harker Academy, book 1. So I'm excited to get into this, and I thought we could start this here and we could start reading Half City together. But we do have a couple of things on the agenda that we're planning on doing together in the next couple of days. We're obviously going to read Half City together. We are obviously going to go to the bookstore. I haven't done like a real true bookstore run in months, literally in months. I've done little ones here and there. I've picked up books at little bookstores. I did a book shopping vlog exploring new bookstores in my city, and I've gotten a couple of books here and there. However, I have like kind of a big list of books, of sequels, of things like that I just have had my eye out for that haven't stumbled their way into my hands yet. So I feel like it is time for us to go and do that. I haven't done like a big getting all the books that are on my list, books for videos, books that I want to read, books that are sequels, so that they're all the same size in my bookshelf, because I will go crazy if I have a hardback beside a paperback. Why do not all books come out in the same sizes? I could write a college level dissertation on the fact that it drives me insane that not all books are the same size. Who wants different sized books on their shelves? Who greenlit this? Anyways, we're gonna do our obligatory book run, and it's gonna be a really good one because we haven't done one of these, like a real true big book run, since like October, since like I knew I was moving. So this is like really well overdue, and I feel like I've earned it, and I feel like we can go maybe a little bit crazy. I want to give you guys a walkthrough of the end of the 2025 reading journal. I definitely have some things to finish up in it. However, I feel like we can do our final walkthrough. We also need to start our 2026 reading journal, and we are definitely approaching the reading journal quite differently this year. So I'm excited to see how that all plays out. I have an idea in my head of what I'm thinking, but we'll see how everything looks when we get started, and we're obviously going to do that together. And other than that, it's really up in the air. We'll see what we get up to for the next couple of days. That being said, welcome back to another episode of the Bookish Diaries. We're starting 2026 off strong, so we're going to say this with the utmost confidence. I'm going to deliver this line with the utmost confidence, and you are going to pretend that it's not as cringy as it is, because it is obligatory for every episode of the Bookish Diaries. So guys, it's time. Let's get bookish. I tried really hard, okay? I tried to deliver it with confidence. It'll never not be cringy. That is not the first sentence, the first page that I would anticipate from a fantasy romance book, but I dare say I'm intrigued. Dare say I feel like I made the right decision picking this up right now and abandoning everything else that I was gonna read. Hey Golden, I did not know your game. I did not. I've been listening to the Alchemized playlist all day today, like as soon as I started reading, anytime that I've been doing anything, so I didn't even really give today a chance. And I mean, I could go back and I could pick up my copy of Alchemized and I could go through some annotations, but it does feel like those tears could do irreparable damage to me for like all future endeavors. So I fear I cannot do that. However, Half City, we have made a good amount of progress into this so far, and I feel like I started that off very solemn. But I honestly am loving the Alchemized playlist in collaboration with this because it's making it feel like it's already really important. But I also have flown through this. I'm just under 100 pages into this. I'm on chapter 10 and I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's been a long time since I've read an academic setting book, and it's been a long time since I've not annotated a book. So I feel like I'm having a lot of fun just sitting in like weird little positions, holding the book wherever it fits. And this is the moment that I'm reminded that it is my goal to do less annotating this year, but we'll get into that later. We're following Viv. We are following Viv. She's only said her name like 2 or 3 times in the book so far. So it's surprising to me that I remembered it, and I just recalled that information right now when I went to talk about it. And then I said it and I didn't feel all that confident about it. However, her name is in fact Viv, and we're in a world that is filled with demons and Lamantrians, which are essentially the hunters, okay? And they all come from 3 different planes, but there's been a chasm that opened in the earth because a king of hell I don't think he's the king of hell, but he's a king of the demons in the mortal plane. Did some dark magic, opened a gateway between the mortal plane and hell, so a bunch of deviants, demons, and other bad things could come onto the mortal plane. And the Lamantrians, I don't like every single time I say it either, which is what the hunters are, they're people, the plane that they exist on, had to come down to battle them, and now everyone is kind of living on the mortal plane. But no humans and mortals know that there are demons and there are demon hunters, so it's a very well kept secret. However, our main character Viv has another secret that she also needs to keep. She's been hunting for a very long time, a lot longer than a lot of these people have been hunting. But one day this demon finds her, which she's never anticipating that a demon's gonna find her. You know, she usually has to do the hunting, but the prey has come to her this time, and he presents her with a coin and says, you've been invited to Harker Academy, and if you want to be the best hunter you could possibly be, you have to come to Harker Academy's Deviant Defense School. And she's like, I don't know what that is. Why would I do that? Why would I do that. Her dad died when she was very young and she saw her dad die. And it seems like absolutely no one knows that she is in fact a hunter and she wants answers. She wants a lot of answers. So she does decide to go to this school. She's been at this school for a little bit now. And I do have to say, I'm very happy at the 100-page mark with the dose of everything that we are getting. Like I have a really good idea of who our love interest is. I feel like you may also, from the description that I just gave of a very good looking demon that gave her a coin. However, I'm also not even 100% sure that that's true. But I like that this is based in the real world. Like it's based in like real world mythology. Like it's based on real world mythological creatures and like what would be real world deviants. But it's kind of giving like an urban fantasy situation. And I also like the side characters that we're getting right out of the gate. I also really like our main character. Like it's really fun and easy to be in the head of this main character. And you guys know me sitting down and reading uninterrupted almost the first 100 pages of a book is like pretty good for me because I am what? A very slow reader and two, very easily distracted. So to have not been distracted at all in the beginning of a book is like singing very high praise. And I can't believe I've never read a Kate Golden book now that I'm into this and I'm enjoying it so much. That's the update for right now. I think the plan for the rest of the night is I'm probably gonna try and reach the 100-page mark. That would feel like a good way to end off the reading for the night, but I'm glad that we started this here because I'm glad that we get to read this together. I think we're gonna make a little bit of dinner now and then we will carry on into tomorrow. So that's probably where I'll leave you tonight, but I'm like really feeling like this is gonna be a very highly rated book. Like I don't know if I was just really in the mood for a book like this, but it's hitting like exactly the spot I want a book to hit right now in a way that I am excited about. Like if there was an itch that a book could scratch, this is that itch, proverbially, I guess. I mean, I said it, so that's the Half City update. I'm gonna crawl into a hole now. Anyways, good morning. It is the next day now. I would say the next morning, however, it is in fact already 1:45 p.m., but you can't win them all, okay? You can't. And today is in fact a holiday, so there was some sleeping in time. And you're right, I do work for myself, so holidays are a made-up construct. However, my boyfriend doesn't, so there was a little bit of sleeping in occurring. That being said, it's the next day now, and we are on chapter 15, page 124 of Half City. So we've made a little bit more progress, and I'm having a lot of fun with this. I feel like I had a set goal in my head that I really wanted to finish this today because it comes out tomorrow. So it felt like a fun idea to just like challenge myself to try and finish this the day before it came out. If there's one thing with me, I'm gonna make a reading challenge for absolutely everything. I need to stop doing that. That being said, if I do end up doing that, I don't. If I don't, I don't. It's not the end of the world. I love reading books that have sprayed edges like this, even though I don't, you guys know, don't love a paperback with sprayed edges. There's some that can do it well. And I mean, the sprayed edges are an epidemic. We're all talking about it. We're all seeing it everywhere. However, it is kind of fun reading a book with sprayed edges every so often because it's such a good way to tell like how far you are into a book. Like I'm getting more and more of the swirls as I keep making progress into this. And it's been such an easy, like light reading experience. I think this is exactly what I was in the mood for, like an academic setting, very fast paced, kind of mystery driven. I'm just really liking everything that this is doing so far, but that is not necessarily why we're sitting down to talk right now. I think that we're going to try and do at least some of our bookstore run today. There's one book that is on my list. I have like a little running list of books that I like know I want to pick up when I go to the bookstore next time. And one of those books is not at the bookstore that I would normally go to. So I know we're definitely going to go and get that one today. Depending on how we're feeling, depending on how the day is rolling, maybe we'll do all of our bookstore shopping today. But before we do all of that, I thought we could talk through some of my 2026 reading goals, some of just like my general ideas in terms of reading for 2026 and just like kind of generally in terms of 2026. We haven't done any resetting or recapping videos really over here yet. And I definitely mentioned or talked through a couple of the ideas I have for 2026 or just like loose concepts. I don't even want to say like goals. I don't know why. I could just say like these are my goals and my like resolutions for 2026 in terms of all of this, in terms of videos, in terms of reading and all of that. But we haven't really sat down and talked through any of them anywhere. The one that I will say that is making the biggest difference, like out of the gate, the biggest difference is that I have switched to using a fully dated journal kind of situation, which just isn't my reading journal. We'll do the whole reading journal situation later, but I have transitioned to doing like a fully analog, writing everything down journal of all of my dates, times, all of that in terms of content, in terms of reading videos, all of that jazz. But I've also started keeping track of all of my reads and like more stats on my reads on paper with more than just my ratings, which it has definitely resulted in me not actually updating any of the apps in terms of my ratings in a really long time. Because another one of my goals was to be a little bit harsher about my ratings, because the thing that has made the biggest difference for me, like it's already halfway through February and I've stuck to this, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is the fact that I've started writing everything in pencil, which I feel like sounds so silly, but I am such a, like my to-do list has to be on a physical thing type of person, but it never worked for me planning out like weeks or months in advance or like planning things out further in the future because I am quite a slow reader. And if there's one thing that comes with being a reader for a job, it's that reading is also supposed to be fun. If you just kind of time and date everything, it'll stop feeling fun. And if I don't have fun reading, I'm not gonna have anything positive to say about books. So it's like striking that balance of hitting dates and hitting times. And obviously like I have to hit deadlines for things or else like there would never be videos, but it doesn't need to be as regimented necessarily as like it needs to be done by this very specific time. So having all of my reads, dates, times, videos, all of that planned out in here in a way that I can erase things and change things has made the biggest difference. I also like sometimes hop around reads. So when I'm keeping track of everything that I've read, there are a lot of books that I've read in the month of January that I ended up erasing and moving around because I ended up filming videos in different orders, or I ended up picking a different book that I was reading casually. And it's made a huge difference for me being able to erase things. And I just feel like I'm keeping track of things better and less stressfully now. So if you are like me and you have a lot of trouble when it comes to writing things in pen and feeling like you are a failure when you don't finish something in time because it's written in pen and then you're like, okay, well, there goes the planner. Because that's what happens for me a lot, okay? Normally I don't even end up sticking to them for very long, and then something comes up and I'm like, I really just feel like I need to be able to plan things out. And then I get another one and I plan things out, and then it just ruins my mental health again because I wrote something in pen and I messed it up. Writing everything in pencil has made the biggest difference, is what I'm trying to say. However, my biggest goal for 2026 in terms of actually reading was to rate things a little bit tougher. I feel like I was pretty loosely a 4 to 5 kind of rater. That was kind of where a lot of my books sat. Like I thought like a 3.5 was like, that was bad. And I think I need to be a little bit tougher. I want to be a little bit tougher because I want my 5s to stand out more. Like I want them to be perfect. And I want the jump between a good book and a book I really like and a book I love to be a little bit different. Like I want that to be my 3, 4, 5. And we've definitely talked about this in a couple of videos, but that has resulted in me not rating any of my reads, any of my books on any of the apps yet. So we're definitely going to do all of that in a little bit, but I've definitely still been tracking all of my reads, but I've just been doing it physically in a log version right here. And I've been tracking a little bit more, which I feel like is kind of fun. Like I kind of like the idea of having these stats. Like these are the stats that I've chosen for me matter, which is something that's so nice about keeping something in a journal. But then also I have books that I have erased in here. Like I should have finished the second death of Locke in January. However, I didn't. So I got to erase it and didn't feel like I was crossing something out and ruining my journal and like not the end of the world. But I'm keeping track of when I finished them, the book name, obviously, what I rated it, if it made me cry, and how I read it. So I'll have like kind of an idea of how many books I annotated this year, of how many books made me cry, where all of my ratings are sitting, in a way that doesn't need to look beautiful. Because with the reading journal, you guys know, I will take the time to make sure that it looks really pretty. Even if I'm a month out or a month behind, it doesn't matter to me. So it's been nice to have something kind of looser, that's something that doesn't matter as much. So in terms of general goals and general planning, this is the biggest change for 2026. And I think it's made a big difference in how much I've been able to show up for myself because I can see everything that needs to be done. I know I'm just rambling now, but we're just kind of chatting through where my brain is at in the moment. But another thing that I'm tracking is how many books I am physically reading, how many books I'm annotating, how many books I am reading on Kindle. Because another one of my really big goals for 2026, which I know feels counterintuitive if you know me or if you watch my videos, but it is to annotate less. It's to be more selective about the books that I annotate, which I feel like is a double-edged sword. And I feel like at the end of the year, I'm gonna have to like really think about how I feel about annotating less, because I know that I feel more for books, I remember more, and I notice more intricate details in books when I'm annotating. Because if there's a quote that I love, a moment that I love, I read it twice because you read it when you read it and then you read it when you're annotating it. And I love the feeling of like a well-read, loved book. However, when you are annotating, it takes twice as long, if not longer. It takes so long. It's an opportunity for me also to pick up my phone. If I'm going to pick up my pen and going to pick up my highlighter and I'm doing all of my annotations, because I'm breaking that rhythm, it's also a moment to pick up my phone, which is something that I have definitely been struggling with. I feel like I've been on and off fighting a reading slump for like the last 6, 7, 8 months. And in January and February, I've been fighting it tooth and nail, truly fighting it. And I've been reading some amazing books and I've been loving everything that I'm reading, but I still have that urge to like go and pick up my phone. So that is not the best thing ever. Then also when you're annotating, there are only a few positions you can sit in. You always have to have your pen on you. You can't switch between audio and physical. And I feel like it's been limiting my reading a lot. And also there are books and sequels that I really want to prioritize and I really want to read. But the first time I read them, I annotated them. And because I was annotating them, it took so long to read, which makes going into the second books or other books by the same author like so daunting. City of Gods and Monsters, really good example. That book took me unironically almost a month to read because I annotated so much of it, but it's like an 800-page book. So it just took like 11 years, but I have such a desire to go into the second one, City of Secrets and something. I'm not even confident that's what it is. The green one. I so am wanting to go into that book, but because I annotated the first one, I feel like I should probably annotate the second one. And I'm trying to leave that behind in 2026. So general goals in terms of rating for 2026 are to be a lot tougher on my ratings and harsher on my ratings, to annotate quite a bit less. And also I think the only one that like I've been trying really hard to stick to is just to read more consistently, like just to read at least something every single day instead of trying to do like big sprints of like 100, 200, 300 pages when my makeup's done and I'm ready to film and like I just need to finish all of this right now. I want to block out my days like a little bit of everything instead of doing big reading days, big filming days, big editing days. I want to make it like more of an everyday hobby, like like it kind of used to be. We're definitely gonna do our reading journal and we'll like talk through all of our reading journal prompts and our like 26 for 26 and all of that stuff when we do our reading journal. But in terms of like generally speaking, reading and like how I am keeping on top of everything and like how I want to show up for myself and like on the internet for 2026, I feel like that's most of it. That covers a lot of it. And I feel like now we're just like kind of on the same page, which is fun. But we're gonna go book shopping. You guys are coming along and we'll see if we get all of our books today. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to be like chill about it because it's like such a good day that like I'm not like forcing myself to do anything. I'm exercising free will today, guys. I don't know what it is, but I'm exercising. Free will. I'm not exercising. Period. Anyways. It's a really good day already, but what can make a really good day even better? A fun Red Bull. I always have cases of Red Bull, which I know, like, we know this is a problem. This is like not new information. Me and Red Bull like go like this. It's like, it's the one habit that I'm like, I could. You're right, I could stop. However, when I lived in Toronto, we lived right beside like a really cute, quaint convenience store. So I used to always just get like one off. So I always had like fun flavors and I love the fun flavors of Red Bull, but I'm nowhere near anywhere that I could like easily go and get a Red Bull. And it's so much cheaper to have like a case of them. Like really, like having a case screams a problem. However, I always just have the regular Red Bulls, but we stopped today and we got a fun Red Bull, the winter sea blue edition, which I thought wasn't going to come back. Like I thought last year was the only year I was going to be able to have this. So I had so many last year and it's been so long since I've had one. It just like does something. This caffeine, what this caffeine does to me on a personal level, oh, I would die. We found a pretty perfect parking spot right downtown at the bookstore that I had to go to get that one book. And now that I'm here, I'm like, why wouldn't I just go to this bookstore? I feel like it has something to do with the fact that I found such a good parking spot. However, before we go in, I thought we could run through the little list of books that I have ready to pick up, the ones that I'm thinking that I want to get. This has kind of been like a rolling list I've had on my phone for the last like month and a bit. Books that I was like, if I see them out in the wild, I will get them. And now we are out in the wild, so we are going to get them. I have anything by Mari McFarlane. I really want to try a Mari McFarlane book. Like I've heard such good things. There's one I think it's called like Just Like Last Night, something like that. It's like a blue and yellow cover and I love blue and yellow as a color combo and I've heard really good things about the inside of that book. So that's really high on the list. I have Dark Matter. You guys know how much I loved Andy Weir last year, Project Hail Mary, The Martian. I'm slowly but surely getting into my sci-fi era. I am planning on reading Red Rising soon. I have the whole first arc now. So I think that I'm going to do a Red Rising reading vlog. I've also been like thinking about how to do a Red Rising reading vlog because I know if I read the first book, I'm going to have to read the full first arc. Do we want that spoiler free? Probably, right? Maybe I'll do like a spoiler portion at the end. Let me know if you guys want a Red Rising reading vlog or if you're like, I actually don't read sci-fi and I don't give a fuck. I don't want you to make that. So I have Dark Matter. I have The Best Worst Thing, which is the book that I could only find at this bookstore. Only went online, like anywhere near me, that I was pretty sure was going to have it. I am obsessed with the cover of this book. It's one of those books that I think will be very like literary fiction, romance forward. I've heard really contradicting things about it. I've heard people love it and I've heard people be like kind of meh about it, but it sounds like something that's going to be really up my alley. We have my book club's book of the month, which is Blockshot by Kennedy Ryan. We read Longshot last February, so it's kind of like a callback. And then I also just today added Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf, I think that's who it's by. I'm not a big dystopian book girl. I haven't read a lot of dystopian books. I think Silver Elite is the only one I've read like as an adult. And you guys know how I feel about Silver Elite. But I've heard really good things about this one. That is the list of the books that we are planning to get. We'll see what we actually end up getting. We'll see what I end up picking up because there's a real chance I get in there and I'm like, you're coming home with me. We're at the bookstore. We found a good spot. We have a good Red Bull. Today is just a really good day. It's like zero. There's people walking around. The sun is out and there are people walking around. I don't know how to express to you how crazy it is to see this many people walking around because normally, as long as I've been in Montreal, everyone's been bundled to the gods every single time that they have to go outside. People are willingly outside right now, and as am I. It's just a good day. We're just spending a good day together. And now we get to go book shopping. It's just great. And we found a good parking spot. I'm gonna stop now. We're going to the bookstore. Time for our official book haul, and I feel like we might be doing another one of these soon because a lot of the books that were on my list they either only had like the Netflix cover for, which like no, I'm so good, I'm actually so good, or they just didn't even straight up have it at all. So that was surprising to me. Like I thought I'd heard a lot about them, so I figured that they would be there. Anyways, this is our book haul for this episode of the Bookish Diaries, and if I do say so myself, I think this is a pretty damn good list, but I am about to drop these, so we're gonna do it now. This is the one that is most out of left field. I feel like I saw this cover and I was intrigued by it, but it is in fact Ralph's Party by Lisa Jewell. Okay, now I thought this was Lisa Jewell's new release. I was so excited. I was like, a new Lisa Lisa Jewell release, right? Then I started flipping through it and I was like, I've never heard of this one before. And it says on here, the iconic novel of the millennium. And I was like, why would it say that? Like what intrigued it to say that? So then I went to the information page and I found out that this was first released in 1999, but that they've re-released it this year, which something about that caught my attention and intrigued me. I want to read everything by Lisa Jewell, always, at all times. And this cover completely got me. I have actually still to this day never physically read a Lisa Jewell book. I always listen to the audiobooks. I wonder if this will have an audiobook. Regardless, this cover did get me, because if there's one thing I'm going to do, it is judge a book by the cover. We do in fact have Walk Shop by Kennedy Ryan, the second book in the Hoops series, which is in fact my book club's book pick. These are interconnected standalone, so I think you can read them in any order. Long Shot was one of the most devastating, emotionally tumultuous books that I have ever read, and I am so, like, just every day dumbfounded with how Kennedy Ryan writes and like everything that Kennedy Ryan does. The Everlasting. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this, and it's actually like quite short, and I was gonna put off buying it for a while because I wasn't in love with the sprayed edges, but again, I've heard such amazing things about this that I feel like I can just not annotate it, and then I don't ever have to see the edges, and I don't think it'll bug me all that much. And the end papers in here are so beautiful for just being like a standard edition, so I did decide to pick it up. And I've seen a lot of people say that this is bringing romantasy back for them, and that's kind of all it took for me. Princess of Blood by Sarah Hawley, the second book in the Shards of Magic series. And I do in fact still have to read Servant of Earth, but it was one of Emily's favorite books, so I know I'm gonna love it. Like, if we're honest, I know I'm gonna love it. And I love that these are like naked hardback full books. Like, there's no dust jacket on this. I don't know why more books don't have this, because it's such an enjoyable reading experience. And there's something about it that's like so cute. And it's obviously the miniature hardback size, which you guys know is one of my favorite book sizes ever. I love a miniature hardback. I think every book should come in miniature hardback size. It's just so cute and it's so small. I feel similarly about miniature hardbacks as I do about miniature hair straighteners. Like, they're just so cute. Cover Story by Mari McFarlane. Okay, I think I was looking for Just Last Night, Just That Night, Like Last Night, something like that. However, they definitely did not have it. They had the second one, Mad About You. It's like a sequel situation. But then I saw that this was her most recent release, and I've read the back of it and it sounded the most interesting to me. And then I read a little bit further down, and this is her 11th release, which that got me too. I don't know, it sounds interesting to me that you have 11 books published. I want to read the newest, and then I can go back in the backlog. Two Can Play by Allie Hazelwood. I didn't even know this came out in paperback until Emily was here and she bought it, and like, I'm not gonna not buy it. I have every Allie Hazelwood. Anyways, The Best Worst Thing by Lauren Oakey. This is the cover that I was searching for. I'm obsessed with this cover, and it was in the general fiction section, so I think I'm right to say that this is kind of a blend of fiction and romance. I know that the story of this is that her and her husband have been trying a really long time to have a child, and now they're working with a surrogate, but she finds out that her husband is cheating on her, and then very soon after finds out that the surrogacy took, so it's the best worst thing that can happen. Last but not least, Crown Tie by Alex Astor. Not the last book in the Light Lark series. I thought it was gonna be, but I know that she makes her fucking decision in this one, so I'm excited about it. And that is today's very large, very in charge book haul. I think I spent like an hour and a half at the bookstore. Like, I had to add time to my parking like 2 or 3 times. Like, I was really just wandering around in there, and it was very busy, and everyone was carrying like 1 to 2 books, because that's what you do when you go to the bookstore. You don't usually buy like 8. So I felt a little bit crazy, but maybe it was a good thing that some of the books that I went in with the intention to buy, they didn't have, because I A, would have looked crazier, and B, would have spent more money. But a successful day, if I do say so myself. I think we're just gonna spend the rest of today kind of just going slow, moving slow, and I'm gonna try and get through a good portion of Half City, so we'll see how far I make it in that. But other than that, I don't think we're gonna get into anything else much today, but I feel like we already had a really good day, so I feel like that's okay. Like, I feel like it's okay I curl up on the couch and read a book, because the quicker I read that book, the quicker I can get the fuck through all of these books I just bought. So, girl math, right? Able to put my finger like quite on why I am like eating this up in the way that I am. Like, I know that I like it, but I couldn't think of the words to describe why I was liking it so much. And then I saw Kate Golden post in our story today the way that she describes this book, and I was like, that's it. That's why I love it. It's the amalgamation of all of these things. But she basically, and I'm summarizing, so this is not going to be an exact quote, but she basically said that if you took the Winchester brothers and then put them in the university setting of Fourth Wing, like the battle college of it all, but then also had all of the mysterious magical elements of the collegiate situation going on in Ninth House, when you explore all of those themes, you get Half City. And I feel like that just 100% sums up why I like it as much as I do. Like, connecting it to all of those things made this book and how much I'm loving it make so much sense in my brain. The story is just crafted very well. Like, I feel like it's been a very, very, very steady rising situation. And I feel like at the point that I reached today, which was like the 230, 240 page mark, I feel like is where I picked it up today, like for the final time, because I have been sitting here uninterrupted for the last couple of hours, just like really dived into this story. We reached that point where it's like, we're high enough in here. We've gotten so many clues. There are so many things that need to come together. And I already know with every single fiber forever my being that I'm not gonna get all of the answers by the end of this, because this is in fact a trilogy. I want whatever crumbs I can get. We have 51 pages to be exact left in it, and I thought it'd be fun to time it and see how long it takes me to read the last 50 pages. 51, if we're being exact. So we're placing bets. We're placing bets today, and I'm gonna place a maybe ostentatious, a maybe audacious bet and say that I can read the last 50 pages in 45 minutes, which feels like a stretch. Every single part of me is telling me that that feels a little bit too much like a stretch. I feel like I'm an hour kind of person, but I feel like I've been reading this fast, but I don't know if I just haven't been looking at the clock. Anyways, we're gonna set a timer. We'll see how it goes. I'm guessing 45 minutes. Place your bets now. You guys know me pretty well, so you can place your bets. Me reading all the comments saying it'll take you 2 hours, babe. This has been my face all the last 50 pages. The way that we've gotten sprinkles this entire time and now it's starting to come together, I want just even one singular answer, but it's been fun trying to figure it out. It all clicks together now, as if before I was looking at the jigsaw upside down. Me right now. Me right now. Which, might I add, from just a couple of pages ago, I'll always come for you. No questions asked. As he should. No, as he should. Me wasting time talking to you when I'm timing. We're timing. There's a time constraint. Diabolical place to end off. It has been a minute since I last talked to you because me and procrastination have been really buddy-buddy. We've been hanging out. And I think what was stopping me was knowing that what stood between me and coming right here and talking to you right now was A, finishing my 2025 reading journal, and B, starting my 2026 reading journal. And trust me, if I didn't feel like doing reading journals, if I didn't have fun doing them, I wouldn't do them. So I'm not procrastinating because I don't like them. However, there's a lot of decision making coming into starting a new journal, completing a previous one, and also I may or may not be a little bit over all the cutting and gluing, but we're going to be getting into that in a little bit. We're going to chit chat. That being said, I've procrastinated so much that we're going to be here for a second. Okay, we have a couple of things to chat through, a couple of, I was going to say housekeeping, but they're not housekeeping at all. They're just things that I want to talk to you about. Okay, we're going to start first with our reading updates. I have so many thoughts about these books. I have so many thoughts about having read these books back to back that I feel like I need to talk to you about, which like I definitely don't need to talk to you about. However, I need to talk to someone about them, and I'm going to talk to you about them. Okay, we have a reading update. This is what has been going on in the last couple of days. We obviously finished Half City by Kate Golden. This took me by such surprise. I was not anticipating to like this as much as I did. That sentiment that Kate Golden said that it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or the Winchester brothers went to Basquiat, and then also it had the like magical university system of Ninth House, really just sums up this book incredibly well. And I feel like it was so good because it was so contained. So contained. The story wasn't all encompassing and huge and large. It did what it did just kind of perfectly. Can I say one thing? I'm not going to elaborate on this when I say this. When you read the last chapter of this book, might I suggest listening to the audiobook for just the last, even just the last chapter. Do an immersive for just the last chapter, because I can't really talk about where it's gonna, Kate Golden, I have so many words to say and I don't want to say anything because this did also literally just come out. I did settle on giving this a strong 5-star. The way that I explained it to Bailey was like, it's kind of like one of those big all-encompassing urban fantasy books that you read, but make it smaller so it's airtight. And I don't know how to explain that. I feel like I say this sentiment a lot, and I feel like it's something that I read in my brain that other people maybe don't read in their brain. But like Rachel Gillig to me is like a very contained story, and that's what makes them so good, because you spend so much time in an appropriate amount of pages with a shorter, smaller cast of characters and with a shorter, smaller cast of magic system and world and all of that. Like actually what goes into the story is a little bit more contained in a way that makes you understand everything that's in the story perfectly. And the cliffhanger, no, I loved our male main character in this. I did. I loved him. No, I loved him. So 5 stars. I think this maybe just found me at the right time. No, I don't. I don't think it just maybe found me at the right time. I just really liked it. So it was a really strong 5-star. That being said, it did keep me in the urban fantasy mood because I've been wanting to continue on with the series of the book that I read next for the longest time. However, the very first book of this series took me unironically a month to get through. It was so long, but it wasn't too long. All all the words needed to be there. So I wasn't mad at the length of it. That being said, it took me so long to get through. It made me put it off for so long. City of Souls and Sinners, we did get through in 5 days. In 5 days of reading, which is like kind of a feat for me. I have no idea how I annotated every single page in this book. It feels like every single page in this book and read it in 5 days. Like, I feel like no one's giving me enough credit for having read this chunker of a book in 5 days. But that's just me being dramatic. Anyways, this was in fact actually 5 stars. And for the exact opposite reason that this was, I think it was a really risky choice to go from reading an urban fantasy that was 5 stars into reading another urban fantasy, because there's a very rare chance that they're going to be different enough that they can stand it on their own. And in this case, they were. So like kind of just a feat. I love this world. I love this story. This Reminded Me by Darian Castle is unironically like truly up there for #1 book boyfriend. And I do not have a numbered book boyfriend list in my notes, okay? I don't keep track of those, to be honest. That being said, Darian Castle just reminded me why he is at the very top of this list. And also the character development in this, the way that our female main character, who is human in this world of vampires and witches and hellseers and these magical dark slayers and this entire situation of this entire world, everything that we get in this world, Loren stood out in this book so much, and her character growth and everything that she goes through. Also just, this is exactly the opposite of Half City in that it's so far from being contained, but it has so much lore and so much magic. And I do feel like with books like this that are like this long, no matter how quickly you read them, there are so many pages and there's so many teeny tiny things in this book that I feel like you just inevitably will miss the first time around. Like, I feel like I was reading things that I was like, I know we learned that on page 11. I'm on page 712 right now, and it's not really clicking. However, that's not to take away from any of this, because I truly wouldn't, in City of Gods and Monsters or in this, take out any of it. Like, I was so locked in. It didn't feel like I was reading 739 pages. It didn't feel like I was reading this for an extended amount of time, even though I was. Like, I probably read this for like 24 to 30 hours in 5 days. So it was also a 5 star, like renowned 5 star. That's the reading update of, we're clearly in an urban fantasy mood, which is crazy because I think this and like City of Gods, I don't think I've read any other urban fantasies than these. I can't think of one right now, but I probably have. You're probably screaming me one. Anyways, those are the reading updates, media updates, because I did in fact start Tell Me Lies for the very first time ever. And I was like, well, chat about it. Like, cause it's gonna take me a minute to get through it. Like, I'll do it while I'm doing my reading journal. I'll watch it. We can chat about it. I already finished it. I did. Yeah. I watched the season finale, which just came out, and y'all waited years. I just watched all of it in 4 days, I think. I don't know how I did that, but I did watch all of Tell Me Lies. I didn't mean to watch it that quickly. However, I get it. I get it. And I think the ending was fine. I think the ending was fine. I think it would have been, this is one of the only shows ever. I always, not always, but a lot of the time I save shows so I can watch them when they're all out, because the cliffhangers, especially on this show, like I was watching my roommate, I was watching Rachel go through like the most diabolical cliffhangers and then having to wait like a year. So I feel like it's fair that I just kind of saved it. However, I think it might have been more fun to watch this show waiting. Like, I think it could have had more of an impact waiting, but that was messy and I had a lot of fun with it. I just feel like I maybe watched it too quickly, that it maybe isn't gonna leave the impression it left on other people. That being said, now that we've done all of our updates from the last couple of days, we've done our reading updates, what I've been doing updates, because it's really just reading and watching Tell Me Lies, we can officially talk about our reading journal, because we have officially completed the 2025 reading journal. I have all of my pages done in here, and we are gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough in here. However, I thought we could chat what we're thinking for 2026 reading journal, because we're gonna do it a little bit differently this time around. I have decided that this being as closed as it can get, it's just stressing me out. The entire reading journal experience at the end of the year just started to stress me out, so I knew I was gonna change it up. I love the idea of doing it in a book that I love so much. Like, I think I will treasure this. I remember saying in the very first Bookish Diaries video when I was starting this that I was like, I feel like I'm gonna look back at this at the end of the year and be so grateful that I did it. And I definitely feel that way. However, I do think I want to do it differently this year, just so it's easier to stay on top of, because I definitely fell behind on it this year and it became like a point of stress in my life, which like reading journaling for fun should never be that. So we're switching it up this year. We have decided to do it in a regular journal. I just got this little journal from Papier, and I think I'll do like kind of the same one every single year. It's the same size, same height-wise size as my original book journal, so I feel like I can still store them all together, but I'm hoping that I can store them normally. Like, this would never sit normally in a bookshelf. It is so overflowing. However, we have our 2026 reading journal. You're able to personalize all of the journals on Papier, so I have the name as Madison Kate and the date is 2026. I have gotten a completely blank page, blank slate reading journal, so this is going to be our 2026 reading journal. However, I think we are going to do away with a lot of how we did the 2025 reading journal. I have realized while there were times, and once I was in it, I had so much fun. It just took me hours and hours and hours and hours, and then I never really looked at it that much. So we are going to switch up how we're going to do it. I don't think anything. I know I'm going to switch up how we are going to do it, because I just feel like people can change and people can grow, and we had a time doing this and we are changing it for this year. I still think it was so much fun doing it in a book that I loved. Like, I think that was a really fun experience, and I'm glad that I did it. And I think it was a fun way to reading journal. I just didn't end up actually journaling in it as much as I think I was anticipating when I was starting this. So I got nowhere near filling it up. For 2026, we're going to do all of the pages digitally, all of them digitally, print them, and then put them on here. And we're still going to do all of our reading tracking and the coloring in and all of that stuff will still be in here. Not entirely sure how this is going to like take place. That's going to be what we're doing today, is figuring out how everything's going to work. But I have gotten a very normal printer. I haven't had a normal printer since university, but I've gotten a normal printer, and I think we're going to make normal pages on my computer. And I think just the cleanliness of being able to cut and paste on my computer and then delete if I don't like it, and not having to like tediously draw everything, I think it's going to be more fun for me, because I loved how personalized this felt. There's so many pages in here that I'm like, that's squiggle. And it also, I'm not a drawer, so it took me a very long time to get through it. But before we get into doing our 2026 reading journal, I figured we may as well do a full walkthrough of our 2025 reading journal, a quick flip through of all of the pages, because I feel like we've worked on this together. And it hasn't been shown in a video in quite some time. Like I think the last time I did it in video was like in September or October. So we did have to finish out the year, and I definitely did get a little bit lazy with it by the end of the year. But we promised ourselves in January of last year that we were going to stick to doing the reading journal, and we did do that. So we're going to do our journal walkthrough now. After hours and hours of blood, sweat, and tears that we have done together through these videos, it is time to do an official walkthrough, an official culmination of our 2025 reading journal. And now I am going to say or remind you that I did in fact lose an entire nail, which will be in the next moving video. However, that video has been pushed back because I lost an entire nail. So we're gonna just not look too hard at the fact that I have no nail over here. That being said, we are gonna walk through. I just felt the need to address it because if you see it and you didn't know about it, it might be a little bit scary. However, we have our 2025 reading journal. I did never end up doing anything really to the spine or to the front cover. That still feels like too big of a commitment, which is another reason why I was like, I think we're gonna go ahead with just using a cute journal this time around so that I don't even really have to think about it. There was a lot of creative freedom to doing it this way, but there was maybe too much creative freedom for a person like me, because when the options are endless, the options end up being none. However, we're gonna rapid fire a full walkthrough. I'm so glad I did this in an Olivia Blake book, because the art at the beginning just makes me very happy. And also, like, I'm glad I picked a book that was truly like one of my favorites. The book started out with our very first page that we did together, our intro page, and I feel like looking back at this is so funny because the journal took on such a different personality as we got more into it. I really started with wanting it to be like fairly neutral and like very cut and pasty, and then moving forward in the year it became very like colors forward, which I also feel like mirrors how my personality grew a little bit last year. However, this is the last time we will look at this little intro page that we did together. Then we come on to our reading stats page and our reading goals. My goals for 2025 were to read more lit fic, read more intentionally, which in my mind meant reading the longer books, which I definitely did last year, and reading the books I've been putting off, kind of just like a little bit in the same vein, and then reading more than I buy. I feel like I could check everything except for that last one. Like I definitely did read more than I bought last year without a shadow of a doubt, but like maybe not enough. I don't feel confident checking that one off. And then we have our final stats for every single month, how much we read every single month. My original goal was 100. We ended up lowering it to 75 mid-year. And I did think that I only had read 74, but then someone reminded me in my YouTube comments that I read Wildside and I forgot to track it. So I did in fact hit my final goal of 75. So I did kind of hit my goal, but not as per the reading journal. And my months honestly were pretty sporadic. So maybe we'll clean that up this year. Then we had my 15 for 25 because 25 was just going to be too many for me, which good thing I didn't pick 25 because I only read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So I do think honestly most of these will be carried to my list of books I want to read in 2026. I'm going to do something similar for 2026. However, maybe not 15 and definitely not 26. Then we have our final year on our bookshelves, the entire year broken down on our bookshelves. I used a different pen when I did it for the last time yesterday, and I hate that that pen bled. However, we had a pretty good year, and I feel like this is a cool way to look at it. This ended up becoming a really fun page. You guys know that I stressed about this the first time I did it because I thought it looked so ugly, but it came together in a way that I really like, and I feel like it's just like quirky and fun and cute. And this is a cool like physical manifestation of being able to see every single book that I read that's not just like on my shelves. This is probably my favorite spread in the entire reading journal because we have our top book from every single month. We have them broken down with the covers here, and then we have a little flow chart into our favorite book of the year, which obviously my favorite book of 2025 was in fact Alchemized. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, but it is fun to see it broken down this way. Like there are definitely some months that I read like some of my top books of the entire year in the same month, so they don't even show up on here. It's just a fun way to see it. Now this was our genre tracker. It's reflective of every single book that we read in each genre for the month. I read like literally no thrillers and not very many lit fics as I had planned to. However, I did read more of them. A lot of them just still kind of classified under romance in my brain. That being said, this was our final genre breakdown of everything. And we did read, I think, 1 or 2 more romances than is reflective on here, but I didn't feel like cutting more paper, if I'm honest, because I did cut more paper for the fantasy, and look how ugly that looks. You know what? It's the thought that counts. We're gonna flip pretty quickly, kind of rapid fire style, through everything that we read throughout the year, so our months broken down. However, this is like the real meat of the journal, so I feel like we can't leave this behind, even though we've talked about these books maybe a bajillion times. We have January, which was our very first month. This changed a lot. Like the style of how we did this changed a lot in the first couple of months, and then near the end of the year, they kind of all stayed the same. Like I feel like I found my style, which I think will carry forward like aesthetic wise into the 2026 reading journal, which was fun to explore this creatively to see what we were gonna do. But this is our January wrap up, and then we had our January stats on this page, which moves in to February. I love this. I still love this. I think on the words, this looked so cool. This is probably one of my favorite like monthly spreads in the entire book, but I have a couple that I really like. But this one was like my first favorite. I have my recap of the Banff trip with Emily, which I can't believe that was only a year ago. Like I feel like she's become such an integral part of my life, and this is the very first time that we like hung out one-on-one, which is crazy, only a year ago. Like this is why I'm so happy I have this journal, like the little things that will remind me of 2025. Like these are the pages I feel like I will look at again and again. We have our February breakdown and our February stats. This is another favorite. Yeah, maybe I spoke too soon because this is also a favorite. I also loved how this one came out. And in March, we went on one of my best friend's birthday trips to Miami. So I have that reflected in here, as well as some PR cards that I ended up not committing to keeping doing this because it made the journal so bulky. But the ones that are in here, I'm glad they're in here. And then we have our March recap, followed by our March stats and our book club book, which this is how the rest of the pages look moving forward. I was trying to use up more pages, like try and do it more spread out instead of trying to like contain it as small as possible, so that maybe it got a little less bulky, but I don't think it really worked. We have April. See, like this is another one that's probably also my favorite because like the little bow is so cute. I had one little piece of blue ribbon that I put in my journaling box, and I was so excited the day that I got to use it. And this is when I started carrying all the designs from the monthly spreads into everything. So I did the same thing in March. And then in April, we have the clouds carrying forward. We do also have a little bit of junk journaling from PR spread on here as well as a book from a 24-hour reading video because I had one extra corner on a printer paper. And this is, I guess, what I printed, and I plopped it there. And then our April reads recapped. April was a really good month. It's so weird how you can look at like everything you read in a month and it just takes you back to the time that you read it. Like maybe that's a really dumb thing to say. That is a dumb thing to say, but I remember all the videos that I filmed and how I felt in this time. Like I remember where my couch was, which is a really good way for me to try and remember what was going on at a time because I moved my couch in that room 100 times. Our April stats broken down. I thought was April showers bring May flowers, but it's kind of giving sad. Like all of the gray clouds. I meant it in a good way. Then we have May. Oh yeah, no, okay, also a favorite. I'm gonna stop saying that because I think a lot of these are my favorite. We have our little strawberries for May, and then our little picnic pattern for May, and we actually have our only real DNF from 2025 down here. I DNF Stocking Jack the Ripper. I might try another time. I might not. And then our May stats and our May book club pick. Moving in to June, again, a favorite, but I won't say it again, but I did just say it. And this was when the merch sweaters went out, so I do have the postcard from when the sweaters went out because I feel like that's an important thing to document. I was so proud of those sweaters, and I get so excited every single time you guys take me wearing them. And then we have our June recap, and I actually ended up using the paper that comes on the back of my annotation supplies. And I did that a lot moving forward. And like, I feel like that's when it really started to feel like a junk journal, but it also started to get really thick. And then our June stats, our June book club pick, which then moves us into July and all the books that we read in July and our stats for July. And this definitely should have gone at the beginning, but I forgot to put it at the beginning, so it is here. And this is when I went to Calgary Stampede with Emily. So I have a bunch of tickets, I have a bunch of pictures, I have our pit passes from when we went to see someone, I don't even know, just kind of everything that I saved. And I'm not gonna lie, this is probably my favorite page in the entire book. Our August title page, I think this turned out really cute, and it took very little amount of effort, so I'm happy with how it looks. August is when we went to Texas, and I will not lie, this is when the journal starts to wind down a little bit, and I did not have enough energy for 8 hours of cutting and gluing. However, I do have some of my favorite pictures from the Texas trip with the book release, as well as my boarding pass. Our August wrap up, our August stats, and our August book club read. September. Now, this is where things start to get really bad, really messy. She really gave up. I really don't like how that looks. I think it's ugly. However, we persevere on. September wrap up. This is a weird month. I literally put 7 stars for Alchemized, and I stand on that. But like truly god tier romanticises, and then 2 very small summary books. Very different vibes. Our September stats and our September book club read. October, you can see that she's giving up here. I don't even really know what, like, this is ugly. We have our October reads. I think this turned out cute. The little pieces of paper. It's easy, but it looks cute. And then we gave up on stats. Like, do the stats even really matter? Does it matter how many pages I read? I don't think it does. But we have our book club book on here. And then we have November and December. Yep. I remember my boyfriend flipped through this. He kind of like flipped through it every single time he saw it, and now that we live together, he was like, oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. And he got to this point in it, and he was like, oh, you really gave up. You gave up. I did give up. I won't lie. We have my trip to see Emily in Victoria, and we ended up going to Calgary after. However, I've been to Calgary 100 times, so I felt like it was cute to just immortalize the Victoria part of it. So I have my little boarding pass with some stickers we got at a bookstore and 2 of my favorite pictures. These are also on my Instagram if you want to see them, but these are my favorite pictures, and that's my favorite picture of Em ever. Like her just frolicking down the little misty beach. Oh, I love it. Our November and December wrap-ups, all the books we read in November and December, and the stars on all of these denoted my favorite from every single month. And last but not least, once again, no stats, we do in fact have my book club book pick reads here. And that concludes our 2025 reading journal. Look at a full year of reading and traveling immortalized in some pages. I'm glad I did it, even if it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. The reading journal is so back. Reading journaling is so back. I feel the same way this January, doing this January spread as I felt doing the first January spread last year, which I went back and watched when I did my first reading journal for what I included and why I included it. Why was it important to me a year ago in terms of what spreads I was going to put in here. I'm having so much fun with it again. I feel very similarly about this. I love the organization of having a reading journal and having everything tracked, everything stats wise. It's just interesting to look at throughout the year. I also feel it's a good creative, turn your mind off. You can put a YouTube video on, put a show on, whatever you're doing, kind of creative endeavor. It's a fun thing to do. But the way that I was doing the reading journal before stopped being fun. And if there's one thing about me, it's that my interests are fleeting. They're gonna change. I'm gonna have so much fun with something and then never do it again. I have knit half of a blanket too many times in my life. So many times in my life. And then I'm I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this ever again. All of that's to say, we have officially completed the beginning of our 2026 journal. So we're gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough now. I'm feeling so organized now. I have everything tracked in here. I have everything tracked in my regular journal. So there's some things tracked in here and some things tracked in here and some things correspond. This is more everything I read, how I felt about it. So in my everyday kind of tracking everything journal, I have the date that I finished the book, what I rated it, if it made me cry or not, and then how I read it. If I read it on audio, physically, if I annotated, if it was on Kindle, whatever it was. But this also has all of my videos mapped out. So all of the books fit within the videos that they're in, and all of my this is my brain dump, for all of my video ideas and everything that you guys end up seeing. This is the finalized culmination at the end of the month kind of thing. Now, we talked about this, but my thought process with this was that I'm not having fun with the cutting and gluing anymore. I'm not having fun drawing. I'm not a drawing kind of person. I was trying to perfect things that just couldn't be perfected because I can't fucking draw. So I'm gonna try and take the scrapbooking nature that I loved about the old reading journal and bring it in to somewhere else. And I kind of love just scrolling through Pinterest and doing things on my computer. So I pulled a bunch of things from Pinterest, kind of just scrolling through Pinterest in the last couple of days. I had already saved some things. I saved some things in the moment, and then I did one last spread today because it was the one that I was missing because I wanted to think on it a little bit. But I did all of that in Canva. I pulled elements from Canva. It was just kind of a fun way to do it. I feel it gives the scrapbook energy that I wanted it to give, the layer, but it's not exploding out of the book. It's a normal sized notebook still, especially because I'm using normal printer paper. It took some trial and error of trying to get the printer to be the right size, get to print to the right size in this. If you want to do this, basically how I did it is I Googled the dimensions of an A5 journal and then put that in a Canva page. And then when I was done with the page, I would export it and create a shape on a different Canva page that was the shape of an A5, the size of an A5 on a 9.5 by 11 legal size sheet. So it would print only in the size it's supposed to be. Does that make sense? I basically had a plain sheet with a box on it, and then I would fit the finished image that I wanted to print into that box and then cut it out. However, I feel we've been talking about this. So we're gonna do our first official 2026 reading journal walkthrough. I even went through and did all the series this time. Last time it was just so tiring that all the things that I left to do next time, tiring's the wrong word, but just do you know when your energy dries up and you're the last thing I want to be doing is cutting and gluing or drawing and looking at something for another hour. I've already been here for so long. But this took such a finite amount of energy, and I had fun while doing it, and I watched fun things that I actually completed everything that I wanted to complete. Because last time I wanted to do a series tracker and I never got around to doing it, but you're gonna see it in here. We have officially done our series tracker. Up first, we once again have like a welcoming page. This is like the intro to the journal page. It says the reading journal of, and then a little tag that says Madison Kate. And then I just have a picture from the beginning of this year in my new little reading corner. And then we have 2026, a little camera. Like these are little things I could never do if I was doing it physically, unless I was printing and layering regardless. So this is just like a easier way for me to do it. Like it's more feasible for me to do it this way. And then on the second page, we have our goals and our stats. So we have a little library card and a little guest check. I do have to say, I got so many of my ideas for the reading journal and like how I was gonna lay it out and the general vibe of it from Lottie. So you should definitely go watch a lot of her reading journal videos. She has some really good ones and I've been watching them kind of like in my free time, and that's how I prepped myself for doing all of this. But I have my reading goals and my reading stats page. So on the little guest check over here, I have every single month of the year, and then I'm gonna add in on top of it. There's a lot of these that like I wrote on top of after the fact, but I'm gonna add in physically how many books I read every single month to hopefully reach the goal of 100 books. And then I have my goals page, which is just kind of like a general goals section. Last year I put like little things to check them off if I felt like I had finished them. Maybe I can go back and add those, but I didn't add them this year. These are more just like general reminders, but I have more reading, less reading vlogs, which doesn't mean that you're going to be getting less reading vlogs necessarily, but I really last year and like still am in the mentality of trying to come up with video ideas and reading books around video ideas, which has left me in the middle of a lot of series. And I feel like I just really this year, I really want to prioritize reading what I want to read and then like fitting them in to videos, because I feel like the energy of that will just be better. I have less annotating, which we talked about, more mood reading, finishing series, prioritizing finishing series, and actually reading the books on my physical TBR. I need to be doing more reading than shopping. Then we have our monthly stats page. This was just like dumb luck that I found a little grid that was exactly the colors I was looking for on Pinterest that was 6 and 6, so I could put them over both pages. And then up top we have every single month. So I have a January through December, and then we're gonna track a couple of things and we can put the totals at the end of the year, which will be a good thing to look back on. But I have books read, pages per day. That was one thing I definitely got from Lottie. She said something along the lines of, you never notice how much you've read, or you never feel that productive in how much you've read until you break it down per day of the month. So I took my total and divided by how many days are going to be in each month, and then it kind of feels better. Like the fact that I read 100 something pages every single day feels pretty good. And then I'm tracking my genres here. So I have romance, fantasy, literary fiction, and other. So I have filled in my January stats. We read 8 books, 3,486 pages, 112 pages per day, 2 romances, 5 fantasies, and 1 literary fiction. Nothing fits another right now. That would be like mystery thriller kind of things. I didn't add a genre for that this year because I didn't read all that many last year. Then we have the page that I did today, because this is the one that I wanted to think on a little bit. We have my 12 picks for 2026. This was just kind of like knee-jerk reaction, the ones that I was thinking of. We have all of our little titles here, and then I have a little just like pink star under each of them. So then when I read them, because I am going to read them, we're staying on top of it, okay? I am going to read every single one of these, she says, like with the utmost confidence and in the beginning of the year, okay? We don't know how the year is going to go, but we're manifesting that I'm going to read every single one. So then when I read them, I can mark them as finished by like filling in the final star rating. And then this is my best of situation, which I think looks really silly kind of right now as is, but I think once it's filled out for the year, it'll look good. But I have little like white lines that you can barely see that I'm going to write the top book from every single month on. And then once we have 4 months, we will pick a favorite of the 4, and then of the top 3 of the year, we will pick a final of the year, and I will print out the book cover to put in the bottom. So it's kind of like we're tucking in 2026 into the little envelope, our favorite book of the year. I also just like love how 3D the envelope looks. I showed this to Bailey the other day and she was like, it looks like it's popping off the page. And I was like, that's exactly the energy I wanted it to give. So I'm glad that you're seeing that. Now we have our official series tracker, and I did do like a little extra page situation, which I'm realizing now this is probably not enough and I might have to tape an extra little page in. And I did not also add every single series that I'm in the middle of. Like if I knew that there wasn't a book coming right now, or if it wasn't interconnected, I don't know. I just added the ones that I felt like adding. So I think we have like 18, 19, 20, something like that already on here. I'm in the middle of a few more, but that's what we're prioritizing for the year, okay? We have the Legacy series, which I only have the last book left. Lady of Darkness, I only have the last book left. Belladonna, I only have Wisteria left. Quicksilver, we have to read Brimstone. House of Devils, we have Lies and Legends and Smoke and Brimstone. Stonewater Kingdom, I've read The Night and the Moth, haven't read The Knave and the Moon. And then we have Crowns of Hearts and Chaos, which is the Hollow series, and it's also going to be a duology. If they were just a duology, I added 2 of them to the same little sticky note to try and conserve some space. We have the Moonfall series by Sarah A. Parker, so When the Moon Hatched. We have Crowns of Nyaxia, and I broke them into little duets, because all of the books in the Crowns of Nyaxia world are broken into whatever the category of vampire they are, duets. There's the Nightborn duet, the Shadowborn duet, and we're starting the Bloodborne duet this August. So I've read all of the Nightborn duet, and I've read the first book in the Shadowborn duet. That's a priority to pick up The Fallen and the Kiss of Dust. War of Lost Hearts, I've read Daughter of No Worlds. Riftborn, I've read Riftborn. Dearly Beloved, Irresistible Paul for Your Enemy. Read the first one, the second one's not out yet. Dance of Lies, read Dance of Lies, the second one's not out yet. Silverleaf, she's on there. She's on there. I'm gonna continue on with the series. Diaries. The vibes were so high. It was a fun time. It was a good book, but the more I think about it, like the characters, the female character specifically, good God. And then we have Immortal Dark. I've read Immortal Dark. We have Fire and Metal, which is Metal Slinger. I've read Metal Slinger. We have the Regency Fairy Tales, which is the series name for Half a Soul, and I've read Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches, so I only have Long Shadow left. We have Light Lark, which I've read everything up till Crown Tide. I haven't read Crown Tide yet, or the Grimm and Oro novella. Do I have to read that? I don't know if I have to. Let me know if I have to. I have Heavenly Bodies. I also checked Fallen Stars. I haven't read Fallen Stars yet. It's gonna be so unsatisfying when I read Fallen Stars and I read the second book, The Name of the Moon. I can't check it off because I already did. Part of me wants to redo this page. I'm not gonna do that though. We have Wicked Games, which is Phantasma, and I've read Phantasma and Enchantra, and Demonica, I don't know, is the third one, and it's coming, I think, in 2026. We have the Alex Stern series, which is Ninth House, and I have read Ninth House. I haven't read Hellbent yet, but the name for the third book has officially been released. Deadbeat, and the cover is so good. I'm so excited. We have The Bridge Kingdom, which I've read the first duology, and then I have Gold Rush Ranch on here, so I've read Off to the Races, which that's a priority to finish that series. Like, I don't have like Fourth Wing on here because like we don't have a book coming this year, and I am almost out of space. I only have 4 left on here, but I'm probably gonna start a lot of series this year, for honest, because I have a habit of doing that. Like, I really want to read The Wolf King like right now. So we might have to add an extra little page in here to get like 12 more, but that's a series that we're in the middle of. We actually have them on here, so it'll be easy to track them. I'm glad that they're in here. Like, that was one thing that I really felt like I was missing from last year. I just never had the energy or felt like adding it last time. I had the pages left. I always left the pages there at my series tracker, but I ended up just gluing them closed, like when we finished it a couple of days ago. Which then brings us in to our monthly spreads. So here's our official January spread. We just have a bunch of little elements on here, a little reminder, just like a cute little January dashboard introductory page. When I have a TBR and all of that, this will go on this page, but I've always just done little introductory pages for each month, and I feel like it sets the tone. So we kept with this tone throughout the entire January wrap up, and I am going to prioritize doing like an entire spread for my favorite book of each month. I feel like it's such a cool way to look back at like what was your favorites throughout the year. But I did do a little spread for Wild Reference. I have my little 6 stars here. I just pulled like a bunch of pictures off of Pinterest to like kind of get the general vibe of the book, and then I just have the book with like a little piece of tape that I extracted from an image. And this is our Wild Reference spread. After Wild Reference, we have our general January wrap up. So I just put every single book that I read from the month on these like little heart doily things. That was also on the dashboard page that January was in. I kept like the same lettering all throughout with January and such. But we have the 8 books we read, what we rated every single one of them, and then same as last time, I did a little star beside my favorite book of the month. So there's just like a little Jean kind of embroidered star on top of Wild Reverence. And now, last but certainly not least, we have our January stats and our book club page. So I read 8 books, 5 fantasy, 2 romance, 1 lit fic, 3,486 pages, 112 pages a day. It's just kind of like the same stats from before, but like pulled into a different format. And then we have our book club book, which for January was The Second Death of Locke, which you might notice was not in my wrap up because I did in fact not finish it in January, but I was in the middle. Okay, I was in the middle of it. But this is our final page for the reading journal. I feel like I get so much inspo from other people's reading journals, so we'll do a really quick silent flip through so you guys can like actually see the detail on every single page. However, I am so happy with doing it this way. I actually haven't seen anyone doing this, and I feel like it's kind of just such a good idea because it's so much easier. Like, as a person that's always on their computer, like, and is always pulling things and like creating graphics and stuff on their phone and on their computer, this is a much more tangible, fun way for me to do it because I feel like all of those elements and those things that I want to add are like at the click of a button rather than like trying to draw them. And I think there's so much merit in trying to draw everything, and it's like such a fun creative endeavor, and I had so much fun with it for so long, but then it just started to kind of become a chore. I also am so happy with doing it in this journal. Like, I love these Papier journals. I've always just loved the brand Papier. I have so many like throughout the years. I think they're like truly the best journals, but I never thought to get one for a reading journal. So I feel like this is a good way to do it. The reason that I stumbled upon it was because we were looking for like a cookbook that we could add like our dinner recipes in, because we've started to like make our own dinner recipes, and then I saw blank notebooks and I was like, yeah, no, that's a good idea for me. That'll be good. I also feel like when they start like stacking up all together on the shelf, I think it's gonna look so cute. However, that is our 2026 reading journal. We're gonna do a silent walkthrough so you can get like the vibes. Well, silent, like I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm not gonna mansplain everything, but this is the 2026 journal so far. And now that I probably kept you here for far too long, we're gonna do one more thing and then I will let you get on for your day. If you are still here, I love you literally so much. That being said, I did write in my notes when I was writing this that I was like, keep it short and sweet, don't stress about it, like just do the things that you want to do in it. And there were so many things that we had to do together and I feel like I yapped your ear off. Anyways, we are gonna do a special edition haul, actually just special books haul. They're special books to me. All of these are special to me now. Well, I don't know what's in these boxes yet. Now that I have finally figured out my special edition book subscription box situation, because when I was moving, I didn't know where I'd be moving to, but you kind of have to plan them out far in advance because they take like a month once they ship to get to me in Canada. So I knew I was moving, so I sent everything to my parents' house and then I had to change everything to my current address. And now my parents have visited me. I also have done like a little bit of damage. It's a little bit of damage because they were books that I loved and I saw that they were available. That being said, we're gonna do a little bit of a special edition book haul. Some I haven't opened, some I'm so excited to show you. But we're gonna start with what is probably now my most special book that I've ever received in my entire life. You might be looking at this and saying, Madison, Conditions of Will, you've read this book. What is this? This is your copy? What's going on? And then you might see all the annotations in here and I will cry. No, I'm actually going to cry. I feel like you guys know this. I talk about it all the time, but I do have a book club and the book club is probably like one of my safest places on the entire internet. Like I talk the most openly about like what's going on in my life. I have a podcast over there. I just like chat with everyone the most over in the book club. Like that's my safe space on the internet. But it's also become a safe space for like so many girls, which makes me so happy. Like the people in the book club, I feel like I know everyone in the book club like so intimately. However, people in the book club have also become friends with each other. And there are 3 girls in the book club. 2 of them live in the US, 1 of them lives in the UK. We have Madison, Rach, and Caitlin. And they have formed a little bit of a friendship and they buddy read together and they've become friends. They have a group chat. They talk about all of their books together inside the book club and outside of the book club. Like they've become really good friends. And I knew that they did this thing where they did a Sisterhood of the Traveling Annotation and they each sent each other a book and it got sent around 3 times and then each person got to keep the book that they picked for everyone to read. I did not know. Obviously, I did not know. This is the kindest gift I've ever been given in my entire life. Like, hands down, kindest gift I've ever seen in my entire life. But I did not know that they were also annotating a copy for me. So now I have a fully annotated, top to bottom, filled with notes. I flipped through this like when I opened it for the first time. Like just there's so many little notes in here. There's so many little moments in here. So many little like nods to things they thought about the book. Just I like really could cry. I genuinely sobbed opening this. And they all wrote me a little letter in the beginning. This is like unironically my most prized possession ever. I was never anticipating to get anything like this. When they asked if they could send me a package, I had no idea what it was going to be. And whenever people ask to send me packages, I always say like, you being here is more than enough. Like you absolutely do not have to. But they were like, we really want to. Like, can you please give us an address that we can send this to? And now this is like, if my house is burning down, this is the very first thing that I'm grabbing. Like this is my most prized possession ever. I love this story so much. And it's so cool to see people who I've come to love just like through talking about books, all of their thoughts and their opinions and everything. And this is actually Rachel's 3rd reread of this book. So like 2 have read it again for a 3rd time in the year that it came out. To send this to me, I like simply don't have the words. So Rach, Mads, and Caitlin, if you're watching this, I love you so much from the bottom of my heart. This is the best gift I've ever received in unironically my entire life. And I don't know what I would do without you guys and without the book club and without the entire book club. It's been such a blessing getting to know everyone over there. I love all the fun that we have over there. However, I need to find a safe place to put this, like somewhere I can show it off and it can be like the first thing I grab in a fire, okay? Now we have some less special books, but special editions. That's a special edition to me, but it's also just a special book. Now we have some special editions. The first 2 are from alllll. I got them just like in the general sale situation. I went and looked at the books that they had available one day because I saw that they had The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, and I ended up doing a little bit of damage. However, I forgot about said damage. I completely forgot about said damage. So I actually was not going to buy the regular edition of Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, but then I did that. Like, we did that. Anyways, we have the alllll edition of An Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. The foiling on this is like so just beyond gorgeous. And then we have our gorgeous sprayed edges. And then the naked hardback is what actually sold me. Oh, and the reverse dust jacket. This is just such a good edition. This is the naked hardback. Stunning. The colors on this are just so good and it's so different than the original version. We have the end paper art, the back end paper art. I love the spine on the naked hardback of this so much. And then the other side of the reversible dust jacket. I'm obsessed with all of the art in this book. Like every single thing is custom and just like so beyond gorgeous. And now I'm gonna need to buy the second book in this series also in this edition, but I mean, I'm not complaining. No one's complaining. Then we have another one from alllll because I was not able to get my hands on the Fairy Loot edition of this book and it's so beyond gorgeous. And now that I've read this book, I remember when this came out, I was kind of like, I don't love it. But now that I've read it and I know what everything means, I love it. But we do in fact have the alllll edition of Wild Reverence. Look at this. It weighs like 100 pounds, but like one of the most stunning things I've ever seen ever. That's not even the best part because that is just a slip jacket and this is the actual, look at it, the castle, the colors. It just like is this book to a T and I could scream with how much I think it's the most beautiful thing ever. The edges are so beyond beautiful. Oh, and obviously I have the dust jacket on upside down, but what else is new? We have the naked hardback, which to be honest is not my favorite thing ever. Like, it's fine. We have the end paper pages. stunning. And the reversible dust jacket. But I will definitely be keeping it in the regular dust jacket or in the sleeve whenever you see it displayed. But I feel like I actually need to display this one. Like I kind of feel like I need to put it somewhere in a way that you can have it out of the slip jacket and have like the cover and the slip jacket on display. So if you have any ideas, do let me know. However, I knew I needed a special edition of what has been my favorite book of the year so far. Now we have an alllll book. I don't know what month. I don't know when it's from. It went to my parents' house. I don't know what's going on. If there's a book that I know I'm never gonna read, I always like look up the spoilers and I will skip it if it's a book I know I'm never gonna read or like I have no interest in reading. So this must have been one that I was interested in reading, but I have no idea what month it's from. Oh, I didn't know it was gonna be this, but I actually do want to read this, so this is exciting. We have The Poet Empress. I've heard really good things about this. I saw that Jamie really liked this. She read an arc of this, so I must have, when I saw that this was an option, been like, yep, this is the edition that I wanted it. But we have The Poet Empress. Oh, they're like metallic sprayed edges. I haven't seen that on an alllll book. Oh, that's really pretty. Okay, the end paper art, the back end paper art, and then probably one of the prettiest naked hardbacks that I've ever seen. It's so intricate. That's stunning, wow. And then the reversible dust jacket. That's a really gorgeous edition. A really gorgeous edition. I feel like alllll is really hit or miss. Like the ones that they do in their like limited drops, like those two that I like bought that were not part of the monthly subscription are usually pretty good. But there are some books in the monthly subscription that just like don't hit that great. However, this is one that's great. I love this. And then last but not least, we have a fairy loot. Same deal. Don't know what month it's from. Don't know anything about it. Don't know anything. There were some that still went to my apartment in Toronto, like after I had moved because they were from October, November, and they got there late. And my landlord has them and my friend is going to pick them up before she comes to see me. So I, again, have no idea what these are going to be. Wait, was this a part of the month? This is very exciting. I just wasn't expecting it to be this. So actually scrap everything that I just said earlier because I present to you the Fairy Loot edition of Wild Reverence. Did I order this and just forget about it? I was so sad that I couldn't get my hands on it. This is so beautiful. I do have the Fairy Loot edition of Divine Rivals. I don't have it of Ruthless Vows. I would love to complete that set. But we have the Fairy Loot Wild Reverence. Now this is gorgeous. I have loved every single book Fairy Loot has done for Rebecca Ross. Those are my babies. No, oh my god, Vincent. Yes. Okay, the sprayed edges. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Like, look at it. Oh my god. This is so exciting. Wait, how did I literally not know this was coming? Okay, we have the end papers. I just love this edition so much. Wow. Okay, we have the naked hardback with the foiling and the stars and everything, very similar to the Divine Rivals one, because this is in fact a prequel to Divine Rivals. And then the back end paper art. I had no idea. No. Oh god, it's giving financial irresponsibility. It's giving, I sat in a queue and I bought this and I forgot? Anyways, not me sitting here like there's a world in which I am any bit sad to have so many copies of my favorite book of the year. Like these are so incredibly different, but I can't lie, I'm happy to have both of them. I'm so happy to have both of them. They both capture different parts of my favorite parts of the story. Look at it. No. Okay, so that was a plot twist. I had no idea that that was coming. Anyways, that's an updated special edition book haul. We haven't done one in a hot minute because I haven't been getting any of them. That being said, thank you guys so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I hope you guys liked this little Bookish Diaries video. I feel like we did a lot of fun things together. And I feel like now having finished one, I'm like, now maybe I do want to do one every single month because I feel like just doing book stuff together is so fun. But I feel like in the capacity of a Bookish Diaries video, maybe that's not what we're going to do. Maybe they're going to fit in other ways. I have a couple of ideas of how we're going to fit in our videos for this year and like what they're going to look like. However, let me know what you guys think about the Bookish Diaries videos, how you like seeing them, how you guys want this kind of to appear on the internet. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you've read any of the books that I bought in the book haul, because I want to hear all of your thoughts and opinions before I pick any of those up. That being said, thank you guys so much for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Love you. Bye. This motion has so much less sass with no nails. No nails. Of course I did my reading journal when I had no fucking nails. I can't wait for this to go back. Ugh, the bane of my existence.